afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday afternoon. We'll just give it a couple minutes here. Hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone's staying safe and staying quarantined and sequestered. I think it's working. We've been talking every week. This is the fourth installment of the Ask Our Vet series, the Earth Animal Ask Our Vet. I'm Dr. Kris, for those of you who don't know me. And we've been basically starting out with an update on COVID each week. This week, we're going to do a quick update. There's not a lot of new things to report, although it looks like what we're doing is working. We knew this was going to be a tough couple of weeks, but it does seem like we are flattening the curve in a number of places. So it is important, I think, to continue. As far as if those of you who were with us last week, you know, we talked a little bit about the tiger that became positive at the Bronx Zoo. So there's not a lot new to report. The one thing that I think is important to note is they still have not had any companion animals in natural environments test positive for this SARS-CoV-2, the COVID virus. So that is important. What's changed from last week, well, what's consistent from last week and changed from the previous weeks is that what we say now is that if you do become ill with it, you know, prior to this tiger, what we were saying is, you know, you can be home with your pets and snuggle with your pets. And, you know, obviously we know how great pet therapy is. But the difference is now, if you do become sick and you're at home and you do have the COVID virus, it is important that you not only quarantine yourself from your friends and family members, but you should, in just an abundance of caution, from your pets as well. Just again, we have not had any reports to date of any natural infection or the animals carrying them, these companion animals in a home environment. But we just want to be very cautious with this. So that's really all that. That's really all I wanted to say about it. It hasn't changed from last week, but I figure each week we can update this as we go. And I think the message is like everything else. Let's hang in there. I mean, you can look at the numbers. You look at the numbers in the different states, and it's a no-brainer what we're doing. You can see that how high these endemic areas, these high pockets, are really related to population. And you see some states that are much more spread out and less densely populated that don't have near the cases, and it's because of geographic distance. It really is. So we just have to keep doing what we're doing and be patient. And I think it's you know, we're gonna beat this and we're gonna win it, but it's gonna take patience and it's gonna take teamwork. And you know, we've seen some things crop up in the last week where we've had people in different places that gathered to protest being sequestered in our homes, and it really does not serve a purpose to do that. I think, you know, and you've seen now the rollout of the potential phasing back, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and certainly that's going to be the way that we're going to have to do this going forward. But I think, you know, the one thing that kind of the take home from all of that is we just can't flip a switch and go back to the way we were right away. We have to do this in phases so that we don't get a relapse and end up back, you know, and take steps back. We want to all steps forward, right? So good. The point of today was, what we decided is we just take questions today. We do questions on any topic, you know, in small animal veterinary medicine that you would like. So what we're going to start with is we have a few that people have submitted, and we'll start with those, and then we'll go to the live questions. Thank you, Michael. I know, Michael, you commented on my beard. Thank you. It's this is my stay-at-home beard. I've actually never grown one, so it's the one thing I'm noticing is it's nice and white, which is great. I guess I turned 50 and now I'm growing a Jerry Garcia beard, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if we're going to keep it. I think if anybody noticed, we did a couple things to the set. You know, I've had some comments back from clients and friends and staff. You know, I have a lot of directors in my life, so they were asking, you know, they're kind of giving me pointers. My dad gave me some pointers. One of which someone asked me the other day who was doing my camera work, who was doing my lighting. And my answer was that I'm the director, I'm the lighting guy, I'm the key grip guy, I'm all by myself here. So we're doing the best we can under the circumstances, right? But if you will notice behind me on our Earth Animal shelf here, we do have new to the set are these flowers. I thought in honor of spring, we'd spruce up the set a little bit. So maybe each week, and I've added some lighting, which is maybe a little bright, but I'm sure people will let me know as this goes. So anyway, and I hope everyone, happy Friday. I hope people are at home watching, having treating this as a little informational happy hour. I'm having some coffee, but cheers to whoever's at home having a nice glass of wine or a beer or something. Anyway, let's get to the questions. So question number 1 is from Roxanne. And Roxanne wrote, I have recently moved to South Carolina. My 4 Papillons are scratching, and I use a commercial flea product out of fear of a flea infestation. She had suffered an infestation a year ago in Virginia when she fostered some cats, and they turned out to have fleas. Her question now is, what can she do for them now that she's used the flea product, but they still are itching and licking? And, it's a good question, because one of the things that people sometimes don't realize is what this falls under is what they call flea allergic dermatitis, right? And, animals can be allergic to the actual flea saliva. So when they get bit, it sets off a whole chain of allergic events and can perpetuate even beyond once you've gotten rid of the flea problem. So this is twofold. One is it's, one of the kind of key elements of when we talk about fleas in animals is that the fleas on the animal oftentimes are really just the tip of the iceberg. 5 to 10%. Really, the problem ends up being in the environment, because fleas drop eggs in the environment, they hatch, and they can continue to hatch and repopulate. So just because you put a flea product on your animals, if you have a flea infestation, does not mean that you've solved your problem. You oftentimes have to practice really good husbandry in the house, and the fact that you're vacuuming every day, and all surfaces that the pets are around they're in, even hardwood floors, which people don't typically think of as that can house flea eggs and things, they can in between the cracks. And so on couches, under couches, and those things. So what I tell people is every day do that. If you have a bagged vacuum, you need to throw away the bag. If you have a bagless, make sure they're emptied and that trash is brought out. So that's the first part of this, is you really want to eat sheets once weekly in hot water if the animals are on the bed. So you really want to treat the house as well. The other part of it is animals can get this cycle, like you're saying, where they're itching and scratching, and it could go beyond the flea bites. So it sets up this vicious cycle of animals itch, they scratch, they cause scabbing, things like that. That can get infected. It can be a full circle thing. So I would say that the other thing about, you want to support skin in them. You can use natural products, like Earth Animal has an allergy and skin formula that you can use. We have a product that's behind me here, Daily Health Nuggets, which are high in fatty acids, which are great to support the skin. I think the other thing too is if you think that it's severe, or you see that there is some scabbing or open sores, I always say they should go to the veterinarian, because you can have secondary bacterial infections going on, and that's something that should not remain unchecked. So I would say treat the house, make sure that you're practicing really good husbandry in the house, going around, cleaning all surfaces, vacuuming daily, washing sheets in hot water, supporting the skin with health supplements, fatty acid supplements, those sort of things. And certainly if you're getting the part where you're getting things like hot spots or scabbing or other things in the skin, you should see your veterinarian so that they can address that appropriately as well. That's a good question, a good topical question, because obviously we're just beginning down to the South. They're always in flea season. We're really just starting to begin ours here. So it's a topical question. Question 2 comes from Catherine by email. What are the signs of a tick-borne illness? The first signs of a tick-borne illness. And, when most people think about tick-borne illness, they think about an animal that all of a sudden is acting off and limping, may have a swollen joint. And in reality, that certainly can happen. I've been practicing in Connecticut for the past 20 years. And as our seasons have gotten less kind of crisp, we haven't had a lot of heavy winters and things. We've had a lot more tick-borne illness kind of as a sequela to that can continue to crop up because we just don't get die-off of ticks. And so, certainly in Connecticut, this is a hot button topic. And the answer, I mean, the short answer is they're really variable. I diagnose a tick-borne disease in a dog, I would say at least once a week. And the signs are really variable. Some dogs come in and they could be just a little bit off, just the ADR, they say, ain't doing right. Just maybe not eating as much, maybe acting a little bit more tired than usual, but not a discernible limp or anything like that. And you look them over, they may have a mild fever, they may not. And you do blood work and you test them, and lo and behold, they're positive. You get some dogs that come in that have just all of a sudden acutely, they came down with a limp on one leg and they have a swollen joint, they have a fever, and those are obviously very telltale. But in Connecticut and with at my practice, almost any animal that comes in with a limp, we will do a tick-borne test on them just to see, and unless it's obvious on how they did it or things, because you can never rule that out on this area. And there are some animals that are asymptomatic, and I think that's one of the reasons why I really tout in my practice and really in most areas with their annual checkup and annual blood, I really like to do a tick test on them. And now we typically test for 3 tick-borne diseases. We test for Lyme, Anaplasma, and Ehrlichia, and we see all of those. Lyme being the most common, but we see a lot of Anaplasma, and those are 3 diseases that are all tick-borne. We see them all, and they can cause a variety of things, not just limping and not just malaise, they call it, or tiredness, but you can also get problems with their blood and problems with organs. So I think it's really important when you're in these I think it's important to initiate protection, against ticks and fleas. And it's also very important to check them periodically to make sure that nothing has got through. There are more and more and more as we see as time goes on here, more and more tick-borne illness that have made their way with the advent of various animals moving through the United States, adoptions, things like that. So it's you can have. I adopted a dog that was from down south that had Ehrlichia. It's very common. So I think the one thing always is to do the annual tests, because you can find these things before they're symptomatic, and that's important. I think it's and flea and tick protection is always very important. Good question. The third question that was submitted was from Kathy Conway by email, and it says, I would like to know what you would suggest for my Maltese's dry nose. She has a little bit of crust at the top, which now I wonder what to do about it. I read coconut oil was okay, and I'm about to order for it. So this dry nose, or what they call hyperkeratosis, nasal hyperkeratosis, is very common in small breed dogs and what they call brachycephalic dogs, like bulldogs and French bulldogs. And I'm sure a lot of you, even if you haven't had these pets, have seen them, where they have, instead of that nice smooth, surface of their nose, they have kind of bumps on top. It looks very hard and crusty. And there's various different reasons for this. One is idiopathic. Some otherwise healthy animals can get this in those breeds, and they don't know the underlying cause. Sometimes some immune system things can do it. But if they're otherwise healthy and they just have this, there's various treatments. There's a lot of things on the market that have different oils in it, coconut oil, avocado oil, just to moisten that area. And sometimes those crusts can fall off. You have to resist the urge to grab at those or pick at those, because they can bleed. So that's a very vascular area. So you don't want to pick that off. But these various oils can help. I oftentimes, with my bulldogs that I've owned in the past, I've used vitamin E, just the capsule, and pop it and rub it in, and that's helped as well. Sometimes you can't really, some of these dogs with idiopathic, you can't cure them of it, but you can help just kind of soften it so it doesn't bother them. Some will respond well. If they get discoloration, or there's not just the crust, but they start to get sores, again, you should have a veterinarian look at them, because there are various things, zinc responsive, dermatitis, things like that. So it's something that you should check into. All right. All right, let's see. We're going to open it up to questions here. Let's see what we have. And anybody, again, we can talk about really anything veterinary related today. So we'll go through these and see. Oh, Miss Alves says hi. Hi, Miss Alves. I hope you're doing well. We just talked on the phone the other day, and I'm going to see Miko next week, I believe. But I hope you're doing well, and it's great to hear from you, for sure. Hi, Cooper. Cooper from Stratford says hi. What's up, Coops? How are you? All right, Sandy has a question here. Let's see. My 10-year-old lab has developed a gagging cough for the last few months. His vet says allergies. I'm concerned that it's something worse. Any advice? So mature labs can develop these dry kind of hacking coughs, and we'll do a little impersonation here, which is going to probably be ridiculous, but a lot of them get this gagging cough where they kind of go and at the end they'll go and nothing comes up. It's this dry. I can't believe I did that on this, but it's this dry hacking, and there's different reasons. Some of them can be allergies. Absolutely, allergies can cause that. One of the things that I noticed when I've been taking X-rays of these guys throughout my career is a lot of these mature labs will have some changes to their lung fields. Not any disease process, but just when you take pictures of lungs, obviously they're filled with air. So the way they come out is really pretty dark on an X-ray. You'll see the heart and the chest, and then surrounding it, you'll see these air-filled lungs. And when you take these mature labs, oftentimes when you take pictures on them, they can have this kind of little bit of haziness to their lungs, and they call it mature dog lungs. And it's not necessarily anything pathologic or anything concerning, but it's something you can see in them. There are obviously other processes that can cause coughing. And I do think if they're coughing for a while, this gagging cough, it is not a bad idea to take X-rays of their chest, because you can at least see and make sure that there's not anything going on in there. Labs are also prone to something they call laryngeal paralysis, where they can get some laxity in their larynx, and it can sometimes cause a little bit of hoarse breathing or some coughing at times. And again, this may be allergies, and it may be completely normal. But I do think if it's going on or getting worse, or it's going on for a period of time, it cannot hurt to go in and get X-rays of the chest and the neck and the chest, just to confirm that everything looks age appropriate in there. So Michael has a question. Michael asks, are there any over-the-counter allergy meds that you can recommend for seasonal allergies? And I think, yeah, and obviously right now, very topical again, there is, I know right here in Connecticut and where we are, the pollen counts are off the charts. We've been getting a lot of rain. We've been getting a lot of wind. And then so we have these days where there's a lot of weeds growing right now. Grasses are growing in. So pollen counts are off the charts. And I can always see in my practice, when we've made the switch to spring, because you never believe that you have seasonal issues as a veterinarian. We see this in one season, this in one season. Besides allergies, there's all sorts of things, but there is a seasonality to what we do, and you can always tell I can tell without any allergy report on the news. I can tell when the pollen counts are high, because I can look at my book in the morning and I can see my 9 o'clock skin, my 9:20 is skin, my 9:40 is sneezing. I have conjunctivitis at 10 o'clock. You can tell when these things are high. And right now they're off the charts. And so there are definitely over-the-counter antihistamines that can work. The various antihistamines that people take, the pets can take as well. Whether it's Benadryl or Zyrtec or things like that. I would, as always, consult your veterinarian about those things. There are some natural products, which if anybody was ever interested, we could take that offline, but we could talk about that as well. So yeah, they can, and it's about lowering histamine counts, and in this time of year they're just off the charts. So good question. Aaron is a fellow Hobart and William Smith grad. Aaron, good to talk to you, and you're welcome. All right, Stephanie has a question. Let's see. So Stephanie asked, what do you think about the hype surrounding grain-free diets? What is your personal top dietary recommendations for puppies and dogs? And if your pets are currently on these diets, do you recommend switching off the diet? So this is as hot button a topic as you can get in the pet industry right now. And thank you for that question, Stephanie. So, and this is one that likely we're going to devote a whole segment to. One of the things that I'll tell you is this kind of, and we'll make this can go on for a long time. So I'll make it relatively short. And what I'll do is I'll do one show on this so we can cover all the bases. But what had happened is the FDA started to look into the grain-free diets because they had collected some information that there was what they considered an abnormal uptick in dilative cardiomyopathy, that they started to see more cases, and they started to see cases in breeds that they typically hadn't seen it in before. So they released a document that said that they were looking into this and they had collected this, but they so far did not find any definitive evidence that there was causative agents in these diets. And it set off an absolute firestorm through the community, as you would imagine. And I think, the one thing I will say is there's no definitive evidence that has been gathered right now either way. And one of the things in that initial report that they had said was that they did not find anything yet, but they were studying it, and they didn't necessarily recommend anybody switch from their diets. So that is one topic that we are following very closely because we're waiting for a study to come down to say either way. So right now, I don't with my personal clients, with me, if they're on a certain diet and they're doing well otherwise, I don't have them switch off of it. I think the advent of, remember, one of the causative and the initial things for a lot of these diets were novel protein diets and things like that, where you had dogs that were allergic and had gone onto these diets because they did a lot better when they went to a simple protein and a simple starch. And so, if they're doing well on a diet like that, and I would know these dogs in the past where they just had chronic ear infections and chronic skin infections, things, and they finally found a food that did well for them, I don't generally at this point switch them, again, until we have some definitive evidence. All right, good question. So let's see, Sandy has a question. My one dog is eating grass like crazy lately and sometimes dirt as well. He has IBD and is on steroids for it. He doesn't throw it up, but I see it in his stool. Should I be concerned? This time of year when you get these new shoots of grass in the yard, I have 3 dogs and my dogs are doing it as well, where they go out and you get these various patches, part of your lawn hasn't started to grow yet. And then you have these mounds of this nice fresh grass. And a lot of them eat the grass. So the concern with it is grass is indigestible fiber, right? And so they don't digest it well. Oftentimes it will make them throw up. I know that it doesn't make your dog throw up, which is good. But since your dog already has inflammatory bowel disease, it's any foreign material that go through the digestive tract can be not good for your dog. So I would say as much as you can, you want to try to prevent against that. Whether it's leash walking outside or being out there just to correct them from doing it. Again, I've had to now go out with my dogs, and my dogs typically run around the backyard. They go out, they go to the bathroom, they come in. This time of year, I spend a lot more time out there with them because I can see them out there. And that goes for acorns that are on the ground and other things, whereas, a lot of animals will chew on those off, and it's just not ideal for them to just ingest and pass through their GI system, especially if they have a pre-existing condition like inflammatory bowel disease. So Kathy asks, so do you think the natural flea and tick collar is effective? I don't like harsh chemicals. Kathy, I'm with you on that. I mean, most of the commercial flea and tick products that are out there, the traditional ones that are used in the veterinary community are based on neurotoxins to the parasites. Okay, so I completely understand why you'd be reticent to use those. I will tell you that we have had a lot of success, and I've talked to Dr. Goldstein about this, often about our entire line of Nature's Protection, and it is a multi-step program. They like to use the internal powders with it. So the internal, it's basically the kind of basis of it is to treat from the inside out and treat the outside as well. So they use the internal powders regularly on a daily basis. Helps with the immune system. Helps kind of make the blood not taste good to these parasites. Okay, and then use an outside product, where if it's a collar or the natural spot-ons, and they've had a lot of success with it and they do work well. So I think it is a good option. All right, Sandy, we have another question. My other dog is a 9-year-old lab that hasn't had previous health issues, but over the last 9 months has been developing sores on her paws in between her nail area. She also has been getting huge hot spots all over her body, causing her to lose clumps. Oh, I gotta open this up, sorry. Clumps of hair. She's been on antibiotics and antifungals on 4 different occasions over this time frame, but it always comes back. Any thoughts? So one thing I would say is, and when you say the sores between her nail area, what I assume you mean is at the nail bed, where the nail actually attaches to the toe. There's different things they can get. They can get interdigital cysts, which are between the toes. That's an allergic-based thing, and then a secondary bacterial problem. But what I'm assuming is that you're saying that she's getting actual infections right at the nail, where the nail meets the, what connects to the toe. So there are a lot of different causes for that, and it's tough to say without examining it. I would say that these things aren't always, they can be allergic and then morph into chronic infections. And when you said antifungals, the reason behind that is sometimes these things can be fungus, they can be yeast-based as well as mixed, they can be mixed bacteria and yeast. So, there's a host, there's a lot of things you can do. Sometimes immune system things can work into that as well. So I think if you haven't, if they keep returning, I would probably do some more diagnostics, maybe some cultures of the area to see exactly what's growing. If you've been off, meds for a little while, there you can do for the actual feet themselves. There's certain things you can soak the feet in, but I would probably go a little bit deeper into this, because you want to get to the bottom of it, because if it does resolve and then come back, then there's likely an underlying issue that you want to kind of identify, and that can help certainly solve it. So good luck with that. I think it's something with a little bit more, probably, like I said, culture, things like that, you probably can get to the bottom of, and then fix it for good, or at least control it, right? Scott has a question. He said, "Hi, Dr. Kris, which earth animal product is the best repellent?" And that's a great question. And it's like I think I answered it a little bit in the sense that what we look at the Nature's Protection, the line is as a multi-step program. So I think with the internal powders and then coupling it with one of the external, either the collars or the spot on, sometimes in really heavy infestation times and bad years, and in warmer weather when there's a lot more ticks and a lot more fleas, and you can couple the internals with the collar with one of the spot-ons where you would use further down the body. So I think they all work really well, and I think they work even better in conjunction. Hi, Rebecca. Thanks for the shout out. How are you? Hi, Angel. Hi, Hendrix. I hope you guys are staying safe and doing well. I miss you too, Rebecca. I miss you too. We'll see. I'll see you soon. Okay, Margot. Margot has a question. What can you tell me about IMHA? My dog was recently diagnosed with this and just had to have a blood transfusion. So IMHA is what they call immune-mediated hemolytic anemia. And it's something that, unfortunately, as a small animal veterinarian, I've seen and treated a lot of over the years. And what it is simply is, it happens when the immune system of an animal actually attacks its own cells. So, your immune system is out there to, you have this immunosurveillance, right? Your immune system, any invaders, anything's, swimming around, they're coming in, they get rid of it. Well, in this case, their immune system gets confused, and it starts actually attacking their own blood cells. And so what it causes is it causes an anemia. And there's various different levels of it. Some animals you'll find that they can have mild anemias, and you catch it early, you get on some meds. Some animals get this worse than others, where their blood counts can drop so severely that they have to have a blood transfusion when they get down, depending on the size of the animal. Some of these, what they judge your blood concentration on, or they call it packed cell volume or hematocrit. And normally in animals, you'll see they do it in a percentage. So you'll see 37, 40% and up. What we can see is sometimes I've had animals that come in with immune mediated hemolytic anemia that have a hematocrit or packed cell volume that is 20% or 17%. And again, depending on the animal and the size, this can be acutely life-threatening. So they can get a blood transfusion, which will immediately knock that up while you initiate treatment. And treatment goes into having to quell down the immune system, so the body has a chance to build the blood back up, and your immune system is not immediately destroying those cells. So, and it can be a long process. It can take a long time on meds, and you have to know that going into it, you need to check. You need to be in touch with your veterinarian frequently. You need to have frequent blood checks to make sure that you're kind of rising. Oftentimes they rise very slowly, and there's a host of meds for it. We don't need to get into those now, but all the meds that are for it are meant to suppress the immune system while the body can kind of heal itself. And the goal is to suppress it while the body heals itself, and over time to bring those counts back up and have the system kind of reset. So Margot, good luck. Absolutely. I hope everything's going well. Irene, you have a question. My cat was diagnosed with pneumonia and an upper respiratory infection in January. She's been on 2 antibiotics for about 2 months now. Her blood work and x-ray done 3 times already. She's improved, but the hacking cough is not gone. The vet says it can also be allergies or a heart issue. They suggest steroids and an EKG. What other options are there to further diagnose? So, and I certainly don't want to Monday morning quarterback anybody in what they're doing, but just a couple of things, and I don't know if they've been done already. You can, depending on, again, what's in the blood work. Are there high white cells? Do they think this is bacteria related? Is there something else going on? You can do things like cultures. They do transtracheal washes where they'll actually go in and get a culture of what's in the lungs. Sometimes you have resistant bacteria that are growing in there. Sometimes there's another causative agent of these things. And, your vet's right. Certainly the allergies, things like allergic bronchitis can occur in these guys. The other thing too is when you start getting things like pneumonia or fluid buildup, an underlying heart issue is. So, your vet's absolutely right. I think when you talk about EKG, you can do ultrasounds of the heart, echocardiograms to see, is there any underlying, cardiac issue? An EKG can see the rhythm of the heart. The, advanced imaging, there's a lot of things to do, but I think if it's been going on and that you still have the cough, I think you want to implore some other diagnostics here to try to get to the bottom of it so that they can stop that. Eileen. Let's see, Eileen, you have a question. Do you recommend any supplements for dogs with chronic kidney disease? So again, there are various supplements for animals with kidney disease. There are a number of homeopathics that are kidney support. Dr. Goldstein's done a wonderful job over the years creating some over-the-counter and some custom formulas for kidneys. There is a product called Azadil, which is a tablet that they can take that also helps. It does depend a bit on what the underlying cause of the kidney, if it's age related, if there's another underlying issue that led to that. So there is a little bit of there's various treatments for various causes, I guess. So there are definitely some things that you can do. Eileen, I will say that if you can reach out to me, we could take that offline. We can talk about maybe what you've been doing, and maybe I can help you, kind of guide you, something we can talk about offline. So certainly if you want to reach out to me at Earth Animal. That's something that we could talk about. All right. Sandy, you're welcome. They were great questions. Anybody who's sending out thanks. I enjoy doing these, and I really like connecting with everybody, especially in this time. We're all kind of socially isolated, right? So I'm happy to do these, and we're going to continue doing them every week. And, frankly, I enjoy them. So hopefully each week I'll get a little better at doing it. Hopefully we'll get a little better with the lighting and the set, and I'll say a little less, and we'll get a little more proficient at it. But I think it's a work in progress, let's say. Hi, Tina. How are you? Thank you, Janae. Thanks for the shout out. I hope you guys are doing well. Hey, Christy. Thank you. That was very nice. Oh, Christy, you have a question. So Christy's question is, I've been dealing with the COVID-19 positive myself. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're doing better, for almost a month. And Moose, what's up, Moose? Has not been acting right. Any chance our pets can contract? And so just a little bit, again, one of the things that I want to say is, at this point, because there's so much unknowns with this, obviously you can never say never. However, the USDA, the veterinary laboratories, the AVMA, the labs in the country, Cornell, University of, there are a lot of people that are working tireless right now, testing random samples, things like that, and they have not found they've not found this to naturally occur from a setting into our companion animals yet. That does not mean that at some point we will not. The likelihood with Moose is that there may be something going on, or just he may be a little off because our lives have been, remember, pets thrive on a schedule, right? And the schedules have really been thrown off. So it could be something like that. I think certainly, Christy, call me, right? You have my number. So definitely call me. We could talk about it. You can kind of just explain a little bit more about what you're seeing. And so the answer is not likely, but we don't know what the future holds. So we'll talk and see. I'm interested in seeing kind of what you're seeing. All right. And what you're seeing at home. And feel better, Christy, and we'll talk soon. Okay. Oh, Eileen. Okay. So you gave me what you're doing. And I think, Eileen, like I said, I'd be happy to talk to you about it, because I would love to know what the values are. There's a lot that goes into that. So, and I guess my point is, not all kidney disease is the same. So I'd be happy to talk to you about it, and you can kind of, I want to know what the values are and other things. So we'll take that offline. Okay. Hey, Angel. Hendrix is due for his annual nail trim. He's starting to chew his nails. Should I make an appointment for just a tech visit and hold off on a simple yearly exam at this point? So this brings about a bit of a larger question right now, which is what, the veterinarians and we're all deemed essential, and we're all doing the best we can to be there for everybody and taking all the precautions we can in this, these crazy times, right? What I would say is, if you have something like a nail trim, and certainly if the nail's at a point where they're hurting the animal or something, then that's a necessary thing to do. If they're at a point where you think they could go another month without being done, I would put that off, because we are trying to do as many kind of essential things right now as we can, things that need to be done. However, if he is, I know Hendrix can grow nails with the best of them, right? And if they're at a point where they're really, you think are hurting him, or you can see it's affecting his gait, or just really bothering him, then we'll talk and we'll figure something out. I think it really is variable, the things that we're doing now versus what we can put off. But I think if you have something that's very non-essential, that's something that I might put off for a little bit. But again, nails can cause foot problems. So if they're growing too long, we'll talk about it. Yeah, Robin, I'll tell you, those my dogs love those salmon hides as well. So they are. Your guys are not the only one. My dogs love them. Okay, Irene, you have another question. What is the easiest way to remove gum from a dog's paw? And you'd be surprised at the things that we have come in the door that animals have in their paws. I've had people call because their dog was limping, and we found, a Charms pop stuck up in the because their child had dropped it after they were done with it, and they dropped it on the ground. The dog stepped on it and wedged up in there, and anything sticky in there. Sometimes and it depends where it's stuck to, right? You've heard the old, like the peanut butter trick or things like that. But really, if it's stuck in their hair, that's something that a lot of times, if you can run to the vet, they can actually shave the hair out of that, because to get all the residue in there sometimes is really hard. So, and the other thing is too is that pulling it and hurts the animal, and a lot of times they don't let you do it. So that's something that we have these little trimmers that oftentimes can pull them out. So that's probably something that you should think about doing if it's if it's going on right now. It's a question from Jerry. Doc, do you think there is too great a level of exercise that you do with a 22-month-old working dog? When he's with his trainer, Finn has AM and PM runs plus active daily sessions during the day. And it's a great question, Jerry. I get that a lot, not always from working dogs, right? I get them from all different people about different ages, and 22 months is obviously different than 6 months old and things. And I know that. I mean, you're really knowledgeable in this space, but I guess short answer is yes. One of the things you have to go by is the dog. There are some dogs that seemingly can just go forever, and they run around and they just are tireless. I think you really have to see, and you have to see how they work, what their level of fitness is. Obviously, one of the things I always recommend, and I know you've done this, Jerry, is that you build them up. Obviously, it's no different than us. If we're going to go, if you're going to jog, the first thing you do is you just don't go out and run 10 miles, right? You build up to that. So, and I know Finn is about. I've been seeing. By the way, you take great pictures, Jerry. And I've been seeing the pictures of Finn that you take are gorgeous. But I mean, and he's just well muscled and everything else. So I think it really does depend on the dog, and I think you have to watch what their level of fitness is, what their weight is, how well muscled they are, and you kind of judge from that. So good question. You're welcome, Christy. Thanks, Chad. All right, let's answer Michael's question. My three-legged roommate has terrible breath. What do you recommend? So I do think that I will tell you right now that dogs and cats, if they have their breath is absolutely a function of a number of different things, right? What their dental tartar is, what their stomach, some of them with stomach issues and acidy stomachs, it can come up from there. So I think before you ever do anything necessarily, there are certainly chews, and Earth Animal has wonderful things. Any of the chews can help break up the tartar on their teeth, help slow production of tartar, and could certainly help stay off dental disease, absolutely, and dentals and things. But if you are worried about your pet's breath, it's always good to have them have an exam at the veterinarian so they can make sure that there's no other underlying issue or an acid base issue or a stomach issue or something else. So good question. All right, William, I think this might be in the feed. This might be our last question. My wife's 13-year-old toy poodle, let's call her Mona, has a number of pink growths on her body. I just noticed she has one between the toes on her front paw. She is biting at it. Can I wait to come back to Connecticut for you to remove it? So, yeah, this dad, I'm sure this is probably something you could have asked me on the phone, but we can do it in this venue too. So Mona is actually my dog's sister, Monty, and he has these little pink. They're benign little growths. A lot of mature dogs get them. They're brother and sister, and they're prone to them. They both have them, and yeah, and they typically, they're like these little sebaceous papillomas. They get these little tiny growths, and sometimes when they get groomed, they can nick them, and and because a lot of times they're cystic, you'll get this crust that develops on them. So sometimes, depending on the age of the animal, condition, everything, or where they are, you do think about removing them. But if they're quiet and they're not, your veterinarian could tell you if they're concerned about them at all. So you should definitely consult your veterinarian on that and give them a ring. So, all right, we're getting to the end here. I do want to talk about a couple of things. Okay, each week we're going to do our spotlight, where we're going to highlight an independent retailer that carries Earth Animal products. And there's a lot of really special independent retailers out there that do a lot in their communities and a lot for our companion animals. So we want to just highlight one a week that we think is doing an excellent job. So this week, on our spotlight, we're highlighting Potrero. Can everyone see that? They're in San Francisco. They have 2 locations. And let's see if we can get it up there again. And there's a couple reasons why we love them. All right. One of them is definitely their commitment to animal wellness. And their priority is the focus of the compassionate treatment for all animals. And one of the other things is what they did when they started to see this whole, the world the way it is and everything going on now, they wanted to make it easier and more convenient for their clientele to be able to pick up what they needed and for their companion animals. So they made a technological investment in an app, and it's made it so much easier and so much more convenient for you to order from there. So please, please make sure that you go and download that app and call them and support them during this time. I think it's very important. Okay. So as part of this, each week, we're going to have a code word or a password. And the first person to call each of their 2 locations with the password is going to win a $50 gift card. Okay. So here we go. We'll unveil it. The password for this week for Potrero is pickle. Make the phone call. Pickle. Everyone see that? See there's spot right there? Spotlight. Get it? Pickle. Okay. All right. Did I have another question that someone put in after that? Sorry. Oh, there's a couple more. Okay. We'll get to these and then we've just got a couple minutes left. So we'll get to the end of these questions if we can here. Okay, so we have a question from Yvonne. It's talking about, as a vet, do you recommend Earth Animal products when there have been reports of dogs choking on it? Yvonne, one of the things I will tell you is we've gone to great lengths at Earth Animal with any of our products to ensure safety, including this chew school and everything with any of our no hides, any of these things. So there's very many levels. There are a number of chew toys, chew bones, things like that on the planet that unfortunately animals have ingested and had issues with or swallowed a large piece. And so what we do recommend is one that we use appropriate sizes, and we have at the stores, when you go in, you can see the appropriate size. They have a whole list of what sizes are appropriate for what size animals. The other thing is that we recommend is with not only ours, with any chew toy, any no hide, anything that you're going to be giving your pet, we've taken great steps to put this out there, that we want them observed. We want them always observed when they're chewing it. And again, this is with anything, not just our products. We're aware that there are thousands of chew toys out there that animals chew on. And so I think it's important, like with my dogs, you have to know your dog too. Are they a vigorous chewer? Are they? So you want to know that, and you also want to make sure that they're observed. And I think, like I said, we've taken painstaking time to try to elucidate all these things, because our number one priority is the safety of animals. Dr. Bob and Susan have been doing this for 40 years, and believe me when I tell you, I've been with Earth Animal for the last couple of years, and absolutely what they walk the walk and what they talk. They are so compassionate, and it goes with everybody that I work with here. They're just an amazing group. And so we've done everything we can to try to ensure the safety of animals. All right, Tina, you know what I'll do? I'm going to sign off, but I will, Tina, I'll give you a call, take a look at the picture. And I can't really visualize it right now, but Tina has a question about a growth on her dog. I'll take a look at it and I'll give you a call. All right, Tina? All right, everybody, listen, stay safe. Thank you for all the questions. This was enjoyable. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next week, and we'll talk then. Stay safe. Be well, everybody. Bye.